Oh, wow, it is bright in here. Hello, everyone. See if I can turn that down a little, maybe. Still. Let's see this. Oh. I guess it doesn't go down anymore. Oh, well. Hello, everyone. Sorry for the bumpy intro. Thanks for the 2 thumbs up for the people that are already here. Let me know if you're here. Feel free to comment so I can see if the comment's working. Hey, it is working. Brendan Miller, how's it going? Today is going to be a little bit of a different episode than not the normal, because I definitely have my moments where I talk about everyday life and real life things. So this episode, we'll just talk in general. You guys can ask questions. If you have any questions, we can talk about things. But recently, I lost a friend of mine who passed away. His name was Keith Pagan. And he was a really good guy. He actually flew me to my first Comic-Con. And the crappy thing about a lot of this is that Keith is yet another person I was very close to at one point in my life, who I have very little memories of due to my aneurysm rupture. I appreciate that. Thank you, Brendan. So when Keith passed, just like when my grandpa passed, my grandma passed, and my aunt passed, like, it's hard for me to process it on a level that I normally should, because all those memories are not there. So I was, just, I guess the way I process things is I read stuff. Oh, no, I'm sorry this happened. May Keith rest in peace. Thank you, Cinnabon. Yes, Keith, what I do know about Keith, although I don't have the memories in full, but I do know about him, is that he worked with my aunt, Joan, who passed away the same year I had my aneurysm rupture of preeclampsia. So she had given birth to her son, and then weeks later, or a week later, suffered a complication and she passed away. So Keith was really good friends with her, and when I was 20, in my early 20s, I think I was a landscaper. I think I was like doing lawns and stuff in South Carolina, and I really wanted to work in movies. Like I was trying to get into a film school. None of them were accepting me. We didn't have a lot of money, and I didn't make a lot of good grades, so it was really hard to try to go somewhere, to get a proper education in film and stuff. So my aunt here in Florida, in Orlando, she said, my Aunt Joan, she said, hey, I might know someone who can get you a job as a PA. And I said, what's a PA? She said, basically, it's a production assistant. It's someone who just kind of does odd jobs around the set. You'll have to help people get places, go pick up groceries, get people coffee. You're kind of like that. What's up? Hey, how's it going, J Money? Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for the kind comments. I appreciate it. And so she was like, would you like to come down to Florida and meet this guy? Maybe he can get you a job on a set. And I said, sure, I'll try I will. When do I need to be there? And she said, can you come down in like 2 weeks or a week or something like that? And I guess I packed my bags. I was in South Carolina, and I just packed up all my stuff and moved to Florida, just like overnight, just like that. And I got down here and I met Keith, and Keith put me on a job that changed my life. It was a German television show production company that was coming to Florida. They were filming something for like a German travel show called Film Parade, which is essentially, we would say it as Film Parade. But Film Parada is like what they were coming over here, and they were going to different Disneys around the world, filming them and bringing those videos back and making touristy type videos to try to get people from, Germany and Bavaria and other countries and other locations over there to travel and visit, Disney in Florida and stuff. Keith, that's the terrible part is I don't remember how exact his age was. I think Keith was around, close to 50 when I met him, so that would put him about 70 now that he's passed away. So he was around late 60s, early 70s. I don't know exact, I'm sorry to say, but I think he was late 60s, early 70s was Keith's age. Sorry for your loss, man. Thank you, Twisty. I appreciate it. We all go through it and it hurts. Well, speaking of going through things and how it hurts and how we process it, we're going to talk about that here in a minute. I'm going to tell you, tell you how one thing my go-to comic book that I read that helps me deal with loss. Um, it doesn't help me deal with the loss of someone I should remember better, like Keith and my grandparents and stuff, but it still helps me deal with loss. He did not die from COVID. Keith has been fighting. I think I have the list here. It was like a type of cancer, basically, and he's been fighting it for years. And he was going through treatment for it and everything. And I guess he at one point just the fighting was too hard. And I think he was just like, this is too much. It's taken too much out of me. And I know I have my days where I'm like, I don't feel good, or I go through my health stuff, but I know I don't have it as bad as something like that. There's no way I can, because I've wanted to give up before, and I have a couple times, but Keith like really fought, as far as I know, as from what I've heard and stuff, he fought really hard, and it just eventually it just takes its toll on you, right? So Keith put me on this job, this film parade job, and I met people that changed my life. Philip, Pear, Stephen. Well, Stephen, I don't think was the host that year. I think Alex was, and she was the host. But then a year or two later, Stephen came in. But all these people I met, Suni, I think was his name. I have a list of their names, so unfortunately I don't have the memories. So I made a list of stuff. So if you see me looking at my computer screen, it's just me doing that. But I got to meet all these people, and I have all these great photos of them and stuff. And my friend Josh came over recently and was trying to help me piece together some of the memories, because Josh was there when it happened. Josh was very close to Keith, and Josh was one of the first friends I made here in Florida, outside of Keith. And I can't remember what it was, but there was a year where, I'm not kidding and I'm not exaggerating, every Friday I mailed a letter. So I worked on let me wrap that up. I worked on the German show, met all those people, and every year that German show came back to Florida, and every year they hired me again. So I had constant work because of Keith giving me a shot. And that job, when I started on it, it was 2 weeks of like 14-hour, 15-hour days, starting at like 6 a.m. and going till like 9 p.m. sometimes. And I was supposed to not get paid. It was like my first job, so they had no room in the budget to pay me. But I didn't care, because it was experience. It was what I wanted. I was landscaping 2 weeks before this, and now I was on a film set. It was so cool to me. And they ended up at the end of the job they back paid me $70 a day, which is half of the rate. I think originally you're supposed to at that point get like $100 to $125 a day for being a PA, which is, I think, good money, or it definitely was then. But they couldn't pay me that, but they could afford to pay me like 60 or $70 a day. But I was like, hey, I thought I was doing this for free. So it was awesome. And it was because Keith and talked to people and said, hey, this kid is a hard worker and he deserves to get paid, because he did a lot of things, and he's never been on a set before. And look how well he did. And Keith, because he was friends with my aunt, maybe, but maybe because he saw some potential in me, he became a friend. And, and he was like, just a really good guy, and he would help me find work when I was hurting for work. And he would, if there was something for Disney that I could do, he would try to find work for Disney for me. He introduced me to a company called Bruno White, I believe, and asked them if they would give me some work, and they did, and I ended up working for them for a couple of years. And then there was a year where I said I'm a big Marvel fan, obviously, and I'm a big X-Men fan, and I was writing letters. Marvel used to have this open submission thing where you could write letters to Marvel every whenever you want. You can pitch them stories. So for a whole year, I made a New Year's resolution that every Friday I would send a letter to Marvel Comics, and I would just every week I would pitch a new story. I'd pitch a Slinger story, an X-Men story, a Spider-Man story, a Prowler story, whatever I wanted. I just kept sending in stories every Friday. And that, I don't know, Keith really liked that about me. He was like, that's amazing that you're so dedicated. And I said, well, I want to work at Marvel so bad. And I said, so I got to try, right? And he said, yes, you do. And he said, so tell you what, have you ever been to Comic-Con? And I said, no. And he said, I'm going to pay for you to go to Comic-Con. And this is in early 2000s. So this was before Comic-Con was like crazy, where you had to buy your tickets. Like you had to get in the raffle to get your tickets, and all that stuff. Like, we bought my ticket like 4 days before I went to the show. We bought a hotel room 4 days before I went to the show. We bought my plane ticket, everything. Keith paid for the whole thing. And he said, just promise me that you will go there and try to get a job. And I said, I will definitely try. So I made a bunch of spec scripts. I drew like a sketchbook. I put a bunch of stuff together. Some of the stuff I'd already been working on. So we went to the printers. I printed out a bunch of like cheapy copies of stuff. And then I went to that Comic-Con, and I went and met everyone I could. That's where I met Mark Polton and Arcana, which I ended up working for Arcana. So I actually did get a job from going to that comic convention. I met people at Image and at Marvel especially. And I had all these rejection letters from Marvel Comics. I didn't get a rejection letter for every script I sent in. Although I did sometimes get a letter that said, hey, this is actually pretty good. Send us a sample. And I'd send a sample, and then they'd write back and say, okay, sorry, we read the sample. It's okay, but it's not up to par. So I said, okay. So I took all those rejection letters, and I went and stood in line, because half of them were signed by Joe Quesada himself. And I went and stood in line to meet Joe Quesada. And I went up, and he said, hey, what do you have for me to sign? Nice to meet you, young man. And I said, oh, I don't want you to sign anything. I already have plenty of your autograph. And I pulled out this little stack of letters, of rejection letters. And I said, this isn't all of them, but this is some of the rejection letters you've given me. I just want you to have them back, because next year I'm going to write 2 pitches a week. and I'm going to keep trying until I get a job with you guys. And he said, that's great. That's awesome that you have that determination. Keep trying. And then, I think like 2 months later, they shut down the submission thing. So I never got a chance to do 2 letters a week, because they kind of closed it down. But it was still cool, because I met like Jim McCann and a bunch of people, just by emailing and writing people and using MySpace and stuff like that. And Alan Heinberg and stuff, who was writing Young Avengers at the time. And it was pretty cool. I got all these doors open because of Keith, and he helped me get through a lot of that stuff, and he encouraged me. And he always asked me, what's your favorite movie? And I would say The Day the Earth Stood Still, 1951 by Robert Wise. It's the best movie that's ever been made. And he said, you need to remake that movie. You need to write a script. So he got me to write a remake of The Day the Earth Stood Still. And then sure as shit, like 2 years after I finished that spec script, there was a movie with Keanu Reeves came out that it was a remake, and it was a terrible remake. I love Keanu Reeves, but it was a terrible remake. But Keith and I went to go see it, and he was like, this movie sucked. Your script was way better. I said, thank you, Keith. But he always encouraged me. Always encouraged me. So like I said, when you lose people in your life, grandparents, family, friends, it's hard to process it. It really is. And there's this comic book, though, that I read because when I feel like that, when I feel lost, and I go, how do I move on? Because I feel guilty after they're gone. I feel guilty making jokes. I feel guilty having fun. I feel guilty doing anything. I think that's because I'm Catholic. But there's a comic book that captures that feeling so very well. And of course, wouldn't you believe, it's a Spider-Man comic. It's Peter Parker Spider-Man issue 20. It came out, I think, in the early 2000s. It's written by Paul Jenkins, and art is by Mark Buckingham. And we're going to talk about that today. I want to talk about this comic book, because I don't know if any of you have read it. And if you have, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this issue. And if you haven't, I think you're going to really like what we're going to talk about here. But let me go back and read some of these comments. Oh, thank you, Tavia. How's it going? Lost someone close sucks really bad. I lost my grandma too about 3 years ago. Yeah, I'm sorry about your loss too. And I know all of us go through it. 2 years ago was my grandpa. A year later, last year was my grandma. This year was Keith. So it was almost exactly a year apart, all 3 of them. Is that weird or what? I know I lost one of my friends last year due to suicide, and that's another tough one. Like I said, I've given up before, and I've tried to take my own life, and that's why every YouTube video I post has links to organizations that help people who have suicidal thoughts. So I'm sorry about your friend. I really am. It sucks. It sucks that we have to lose people. I mean, it's a part of life, and that's where this comic comes into place too. But just because it's a part of life doesn't make it easy, right? Doesn't make it any easier. So basically, he made you who you are. I'd like to say that Keith is one of the many people that made me who I am. Absolutely. Yeah, I am here. Remember me? I do. Gabby, welcome. Um, Keith, in your lifetime, if you are wise enough and aware enough to know when you have someone like a Keith in your life, and really embrace that. Um, I've been very lucky. Like growing up, granted, I had a really messed up childhood, child abuse, sexual abuse, all kind of things. But man, oh man, did I have so many grown-ups believe in me and believe I could be better. Um, and if I didn't have that, if I didn't have people like Keith or my Aunt Joan or people that were willing to open a door for me, I wouldn't be here. And because I went through that door headstrong, every time someone was gracious enough to open a door for me, I'm like, I am not wasting this opportunity. If they put their name and reputation and professionalism on the line to open this door for me, I am going to work my ass off to where even if I don't get the thing I'm after, I at least tried everything I could to get it. So if you have like a Keith or a mom and dad or a grandparent or someone that pushes you, let them push you. Let them challenge you. Let them elevate you. Don't take it for granted. So this book, Peter Parker Spider-Man number 20, if you have not read this comic, I highly recommend you go buy it right now. If you go to Comixology, they have a Marvel buy one, get one free deal right now as of we're recording this. It's only going to last for a few days, like 2 or 3 days. You pick a Marvel comic, pick Peter Parker Spider-Man number 20, it's $1.99, and pick any other $1.99 comic that Marvel made. And then go to checkout, put in Marvel DEC, Marvel December, Marvel DEC, and that'll give you one of those books for free. So it'll be $2, you get 2 books. Comixology. Make one of them Peter Parker Spider-Man number 20 by Paul Jenkins. Paul Jenkins was given this Spider-Man book after a shit turd of a run by who was it? Howard Mackey had done one of these books, and then John Byrne. They were relaunching Spider-Man. They renumbered all the books back to number 1. Amazing Spider-Man and Peter Parker Spider-Man were the 2 monthly books they were doing. This was after the Clone Saga. And they're like, we're renumbering the books and we're going to go back to basics. And it sucked. It really sucked. Even the Venom stories in it weren't that good. That was the one where Venom ate Carnage, which was kind of neat, actually. But then after that, Venom's suit gets taken away by some mayor who's like a villain. And he like tortures the suit or something, and then it just slinks back to Eddie Brock. And that's also the same run where Eddie Brock's wife, Anne Wang, ex-wife Anne Wang, died, which was not handled well either. So none of that run I really like. I lost my Uncle David. Thank you, Gabby, for saying that. I lost my Uncle David. J Money says when I was 3 in 2008, he was murdered at an early age in front of his daughter that is now 16, and she lost her late 20s sister to a gun violence. It's just her brother and oh my God, man. Jeez, I'm so sorry. God dang. Gabby says you may lose someone in your life, but that doesn't mean that you will stop loving and thinking of them. Well, we'll talk about that in the book here, but I'm sorry, J Money. I'm sorry for you. Those are horrible. That's a horrible thing. I remember my brother is he had a gun pointed at his head before, and he said it was one of the scariest moments of his life, and I can believe that. And that's just, the gun was just aimed at him. He luckily wasn't shot or killed by it. But so I can't imagine the pain that you and your family go through, man. So I'm sorry. She passed in May of 2016, 4 years now. Jeez. Sorry. So J Money, I don't know if you've so let me just preface this by saying, so I read this comic book because it helps me when I'm stuck emotionally. After someone passes, I can't process it sometimes. I can't process fully the sadness sometimes. Sometimes I can't process the anger. Sometimes I can't process the optimistic side, like Gabby just said, where like they're never really gone, they're still a part of you. Um, it's tough. Like I don't know how to deal with it sometimes, and so this book is not an answer to that. Like if you are if I'm talking this book up too much and making you think it's going to make you feel better about the losses that you've gone through or had, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that this is just something I read that helps me process it on some level. Um, this book by Paul Jenkins, Peter Parker Spider-Man number 20, it starts off with the line from Richard Waitley, happiness is no laughing matter. That's what the book is called. Happiness is no laughing matter. What happened during this terrible run of Spider-Man before Paul Jenkins got on the book was that all these dumb things kept happening. They were terrible, all of them. And like the bad writing, bad everything. Some of the art wasn't that good too. And what happened in the end was that Mary Jane got kidnapped. Peter Parker as Spider-Man was not being very well respected out in New York as usual. His villains were kicking the crap out of him constantly. He had to go up against a mayor who he was kind of trying to become friends with, but then the mayor turned out to be the villain, so that kind of broke him emotionally. And basically, Peter Parker's at this point where he can't even make a joke anymore. He can't laugh. He can't smile. Life is way too real for him during this time, which we all go through. We all go through that point where we're like, I can't anymore. That's where Peter is at the beginning of this story. So the official title of this issue is called The Best Medicine. Hold on, let me see what J Money says. And my mom cries every night about it because she was real close with him. Then her brothers and sisters, but her aunt, and don't speak or don't get along. So it's kind of bad when you have family members on. That's the worst part, I think, is when the way family handles it. If they're angry about it, which is understandable, right? It's a human emotion to be angry about someone you lost in that, especially in those circumstances. You take it out on the wrong people sometimes, and it divides, and that sucks. It really sucks. So I hope your family finds a way to heal. You read this comic in elementary school in the library? This is a good one. I mean, it's not like some profound thing or anything, but it's simple in its execution. Thank you for the 9 thumbs up, everybody. It's simple in its execution, but it's Peter Parker starts off, it's raining. Peter Parker's sitting in front of Uncle Ben's tombstone. And he's like, Uncle Ben, I can't do this anymore. I can't laugh. I can't be myself. I can't be Spider-Man without my sense of humor. It's a defense mechanism. It helps me cope. It helps me deal with the very real life that I live and the sacrifices I've had to make. And it's not fair. I think most of us feel that way when we lose people and the things we lose. It feels like it's always us. It's always us losing. It's always our fault. It's always our mistakes. It's always our loved ones. It's always our pain. And we can't deal with it. And Peter is here doing that exact thing, just like most of us do. I can't deal with this, Uncle Ben. Like, the world hates me right now. Spider-Man's not very well respected or loved. Mary Jane has been kidnapped. She's my wife, and I can't find her. I'm a terrible husband. I can't even save the woman I love. I can't find her anywhere. My friends are dying. I've lost loved ones. I've lost this. I've lost that. I can't take it. I can't. What do I do? Like, what do I do? Like, what's the answer? How do I move on? How do I pick up and move on? And then now, of course, my computer decides to freeze. And I can't look at the next image. So we're just going to exit out. And we're going to pull it back up. But he says, I pretty much remember the gist of this book anyway. I just needed the reminders. But he's like, I can't move on. What do I do? So he starts remembering, like you do with people. Like, not in my case sometimes, but most people, they start going down memory lane. That's how you keep these people around, the people that you love that are gone. How do you keep them around? How do you keep them with you at all times? You remember them. You definitely remember the good, right? You just try to remember all the good. And that sucks. My computer won't open. All right, I got to do this. So he says, like, what do I do? And he's like, just give me a sign, any sign. And then while he's sitting there in the rain, he goes, this reminds me of the time when I was a kid, Uncle Ben. And I was outside playing in the rain, and you stuck your head out the window, and you were like, hey, Peter, come inside. It's raining. You're going to get wet out there. So Peter goes, okay. And he's like running towards the house. The front door is kind of open a little bit. And on top of the front door is a little bucket of water. And Peter pushes the door open. The bucket falls. He gets soaking wet anyway. It was a practical joke from Uncle Ben. Just wanted to make Peter laugh. And Peter does. He laughs. And first he's upset. And then he laughs. He sees Uncle Ben laughing, and he starts laughing, and he's like, okay. And Aunt May's like, oh boy, like these two troublemakers. So then they get into a competition. Peter, who's a kid who didn't have a father, doesn't know his parents, but he has Uncle Ben and Aunt May. Couldn't have been luckier to have them. And he's like, all right, I'm going to start a challenge to my Uncle Ben. We're going to prank each other. So he like does something to Uncle Ben's shaving cream that like stains Uncle Ben's face and stuff. And they just go back and forth. Like Uncle Ben does something to Peter's backpack or something. And they just go back and forth. They keep like picking on each other. And it helps them. Peter's like, yeah, I had a bad day at school. Flash Thompson beat me up something. But then I'd come home and Uncle Ben would do a joke on me and make me laugh. And he would make me see that there is something you can move on from the pain. There's something there. And he goes, but then Uncle Ben died. And he's like, and that's not fair. Like, he's like, Uncle Ben died just being a good guy. He was just coming to pick me up. And because I selfishly let some scumbag get away, of all the things that scumbag could have done, he went and shot my Uncle Ben. And now it's my fault that Uncle Ben's gone. The guy who made me laugh whenever I had a bad day, I'm responsible for him being gone. And Peter starts dissecting his life, dissecting those decisions he's made in his life. And he gets to this point at the end of the story, after he's talked about everything. Here are the friends that don't like me anymore. Mary Jane is gone. Here's this, here's that. Aunt May is sick again. Like, what do I do? Like, what do I do? I can't laugh anymore, Uncle Ben. What do I do? And he's like, give me a sign. And he's sitting there at the tombstone asking Uncle Ben, please give me a sign. And just like when he was a kid, when that bucket of water fell on him, like a street sweeper truck drives by, hits a puddle of water, and it comes up like a little wave, splashes all over Peter Parker. He gets like dirt, mud, water all over him, bird craps in it, all this stuff, trash, cigarette butts, right over him. And then he just kind of sits there for a second, smiles, and then starts laughing. And he said, good one, Uncle Ben. When I don't know, like again, the story's not some kind of profound thing. It's a little cheesy and stuff, but a little on the nose, maybe. But it's, I think, a very human reaction to loss, right? I think Peter, what he does in that story is very human. So although I can't remember all the stuff about Keith, I know the stories. My friend Josh told me some of them. A couple family members. You okay, Echo? Jeez. Echo like shook his head and his ears smacked against the table. You all right, buddy? All right. Way to ruin the moment, dude. Nice one, Echo. So anyway, I can't remember everything Keith did, but I know a lot of the stuff he did because of journal entries that I've kept, photos I've kept, stories from my friend Josh, things like that, family members. So I just want to do this episode where I just talk a little bit about loss and like the feeling I have, and I know some of you guys out there have been through similar things, like Jay Money said, like even in more intense things and more horrific and heartbreaking things. I know we all deal with this, so we all deal with loss, and it's tough. It's weird because it's one of the few things that connects all of us, is the fact that we all lose people we love. It is a part of life, is to die, obviously, and it's I guess, but it's not the end, right? It's like Gabby said, those people can live on through our memories. So even though I don't have the memories, I wanted to at least share a little bit of the story about Keith and my perspective of what kind of guy he was. He adopted 2 boys. I don't know if he adopted more kids than that, but he had 2 when I knew him. And he was, I thought, a great dad. He was always a great role model. I know he probably had his issues and problems. We all are human. We're all flawed. But I know for me, for example, he was a teacher and a friend. and an encourager. Like at a time where I felt like I at sometimes didn't have a lot of encouragement, but I did. I really did. I look back on that, or I look in my journal and I read about how my aunt encouraged me, and Keith, and some of the German film people I worked with, my friend Nathan who lives here, my friend Josh, like all these people really believed in me. And and I know when I went to LA, I tried my hardest. And the downside is my time in LA got cut because of health. Like first it was the aneurysm rupture. So then trying to rebuild my life after that, it was hard to get back into things. Then I finally got back into comics and working in comics again. And then that caused problems because if I didn't finish a script like within like a week, I forget about it. Like I have trouble with stuff a lot of times. I mean, it's one of the reasons I don't talk about it a lot, but why my book is so late. The book I've been working on for a while is I argue with my editor, but I pay her to do that with me. And it's not personal, it's all professional, but she'll be like, you don't remember, you changed this chapter. Where's the new version? I'm like, I don't remember changing that chapter. And I'm going through looking through my computer for this other version. I found it, I sent it to her, and I'm like, yeah, but I just read it before I sent it to you, and I don't like some of it. And she's like, well, let's work on it. And and it's things like that. And it's like, so I can't properly keep Keith around the way that most people who remember him can. But I thought I could at least make this video and tell you all about Keith, and then maybe hear some of your stories about people who you love, who are gone. So I appreciate J Money you sharing and opening up like that. And I'm sorry about the loss you've been through, and everyone out there who isn't commenting or has commented before or anything, or who's watching this later. If you've lost someone, like, I'm sorry, and feel free to talk about it in the comments if you're watching later. As far as the last time I read the Bible in 2010 after my aneurysm rupture. I think I read it again in 2011, the Catholic version. It's the only version I have on me. Because I read it again because I wrote a comic book called Monomyth, which is has biblical themes, I guess. But I am not a very religious person. I've said it on the show before. I don't believe in God. I know there's a God, and I hate him. And that's just my relationship with him. It doesn't involve anyone else. Just how I feel towards the guy. That's good that you go to church, though. That's good. That's a sweet Peter and Uncle Ben moment. It really is. Honestly, it's a really good comic. So please, if you haven't read it, I did leave some stuff out. Peter Parker, Spider-Man number 20. You can get on Comixology as of this recording right now for $1.99, and then you can pick another Marvel comic that's $1.99, and then go to the checkout, put Marvel, and then the letters DEC, like as in December. Marvel DEC, all one word. And you'll get buy one, get one free. So you'll pay for the Spider-Man book and get a second book that's $1.99 for free. So I would suggest doing that if you want to read it. See, it says in the Bible that as a man never supposed to cry, but we can't help it. I mean, the Bible says a lot of things that I'm sure aren't true. Especially that. Like, I mean, I know people like, men used to be tough and we didn't cry. Nah, man, men have cried forever. Things hurt. Things just hurt, Doesn't matter who you are. Hey, what's up, John Riddle? Hey, well, you made it. Yeah, but we're about to end the episode, actually. I think I said everything I wanted to say. I just wanted to talk about Keith a little bit and just have it on some kind of record in case one day I end up forgetting the stories that I shared with you. I just want them on record because, I battle my own things, and one day I'm going to lose the battle with my brain, and I'm not going to remember a lot of stuff. It's already been happening, little things here and there. So yeah, I wanted this on record that, I missed the guy, and I was hoping to reconnect with him when I moved back here to Florida. But when I got here, I found out he was already in New York battling for his life. And then recently, I think about 2 weeks ago, he passed away. I was working a double at Lego. So I work at Harley Davidson during the day on Saturdays and Sundays. I work from the morning till about 5:30 p.m. And then I hustle over to Lego, and I work from there from 6:30 to about 11:30. So it's a good, 14-hour day for me, roughly. If you count the drives, maybe a 15-hour day. So they're long days for sure, but they're much easier than working 14 hours or 12 hours at SeaWorld like I used to do. That was killing me. I like Lego. I'm so glad I got a job there again, even if it's just seasonal, because that job mentally has been a good thing for me. When I was in California and I was a supervisor at that Lego store, like it was good. It gave me structure. They were teaching me how to be a leader, and they were giving me again, they were encouraging me. They were showing me that I could be better than I was, because I was like, yeah, I feel like I could be better at stuff. I feel like I'm not very good at this or that. And they're like, well, let's teach you. Let's make you better at that stuff. And I said, that's great. I would love to be better at that stuff. Um, so I'm very grateful that I get to have these jobs, but I was working the double, and it was like, I think I had my second break. So it was like 9 o'clock. So this was near the end of the second shift on site. So I had done a double, and then I was almost done with the second double, and I'm on my 15-minute break, and I check my phone, and my friend Josh says, "Hey man, just want you to know Keith passed away, and I'm sorry to report that to you." And so I told Josh, I said, "Hey, maybe sometime in the next like couple weeks when I have a day off or something, maybe you could come over, and we could have like a drink, and we can share stories about Keith." And he was like, "That would be awesome." So I did make the invitation to him, but both of our schedules are just crazy. He's working for like the NBA or something right now, and I'm working two jobs, so it's going to be tough to make it happen, but we'll make it happen. It'll be good. I hate crying. It gives me a headache all day and all night. Yeah, yeah. I cry sometimes. I mean, like, but I cry over silly things. Um, Someone pointed out to me recently, like, why didn't you cry when your grandpa passed away, but you cried when like Aunt May died in Spider-Man? Actually, that's a very easy answer. When I had my brain aneurysm in 2010, it wiped out a lot of memories. For some reason, I could remember. I couldn't remember my grandpa's name. It's John Donnelly, by the way, John Donnelly. His friends called him Bob. I couldn't remember my grandmother's name. It's Rose Donnelly, by the way. We called her Nana and Papap. We called them Nana and Papap. I couldn't remember their names. I couldn't remember my mom's name, Lynn Donnelly. I couldn't remember my brother's name. I couldn't remember anything like that. But I could remember that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. And I could remember comic books. I could remember Superman was Clark Kent. I could remember these things that, trust me, when you tell your family, I don't know who you are, but then you're like, but I know who Spider-Man is. It's confusing for them, and it's heartbreaking for them. It's really hard to process that. When your parents talk to you, they like to think of memories of you, right? Or your family, anyone who's older than you, they like to reminisce. Oh, when you were this age, you did this. When you take that away from a parent, it's got to hurt like hell. And I know it. My mom still does it. She'll be like, "Oh, do you remember when you were 5? Oh, you probably don't remember. Oh, yeah, you don't remember." It's hard. You take away some kind of magic from them that they love. It's like all the things they love about you are in these memories, and when you don't share them anymore, it's hard for them. That's why it's hard to watch someone going through dementia and stuff, is because we tether our souls and our spirits and our lives to our memories. They make us who we are in a lot of ways. So without them, you're like, well, who is that person to me now if they don't remember who I am? And you have to readjust, right? So so it was weird. So to me, I would say I never I still know Aunt May and Uncle Ben. So if Aunt May dies in a video game, I probably will react to that emotionally, because I remember her more than I remember my own family. And I'm not saying I don't cry when I think about losing Keith or my grandparents or anything like that. I did, but I just didn't do it on camera, or whatever, trying to hold it together. But yeah, so that was my answer to that person. I was like, look, I remember Spider-Man at age, 8 or 6 or whatever. I first read comic books. I remember. So like, I remember who he is, I guess. And I remember not every little thing or every style of art, or I don't remember all those kind of details, but I knew Peter Parker's life. I knew more about Peter Parker's life than I knew about my own life. I knew more about Clark Kent's life than I did about my own life. just how that's what was left of my brain afterwards. I don't know. I don't know. Like that's just, but that was my answer to that person. I'm sorry, you know that pain, dude. I'm sorry. And like I said, that was the whole point of this episode is we went through a Spider-Man comic that kind of illustrates that pain that we all have. And there's other, there's other Spider-Man comics we could always talk about in the future that are a little off the reservation in some ways. Like there's a comic book where Peter Parker meets God. It's called The Book of Peter. It's actually a decent issue. There's an issue where Spider-Man fights Morbius in front of a kid who is has cerebral palsy. We might actually talk about that issue because it has Morbius in it, so we may talk about that in the future. But yeah. So anyway, that's just I wanted to share that story about Keith and kind of bring him into this, Venom vlog family of ours, so that people know that he existed, and that he was an awesome person, just an awesome person. And I'm going to miss the guy. I wish I was able to reconnect with him before he left. But like a lot of you say, like, he's not gone. Like, the other day I could swear I was I haven't been feeling good this week, and so on Thursday I had to call out sick to work, pretty much because my doctor said so. He's like, look, what's happening to you could be a reaction to your medicine, and if you just took it again, I can't have you go to work if you have a reaction. So you got to stay home. So I had to call out on Thursday, and I could swear I was laying in bed. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go to sleep because I've been having trouble sleeping lately. Sleeping is a kind of an obstacle for me. We can get into that in another episode. But I was laying there and I could swear I heard Keith. I could swear it, like him say, "You gonna finish that book?" And I'm not kidding around. I actually pulled out my phone and I started taking notes on Neverland right on my phone. And I said, you know what? I'll email this to myself later, and I'll punch it up later, which I did. I actually did. So, but yeah, it was funny. Yeah, this morning I got up early and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna type that page up real quick and add it to my notes for my editor. So yeah, just still encouraging me, even after he's gone. So. Oh yeah, we'll talk about that in another episode. The Spider-Man 3 Spider-Man thing. So I don't know if Sony lied to you, because I don't think that what you saw was actually from Sony. I don't know. I don't believe it. People are out to fool people all the time. And but we'll talk about that in another episode. Thank you all. Thanks for the 11 thumbs up. Thanks for, listening to me share this story, talk about the Spider-Man comic, talk about Keith, talk about part of my life that I haven't really shared on this video before about, trying to get a job at Marvel when I was like in my early 20s. And then, like I said, I was actually making momentum. I had like my foot in the door, and I had a lot of contacts, and then a brain aneurysm just took my life away. And coming back to California, I was like, maybe I can pick up the pieces, even though I don't remember where the pieces are. And I came back to California, and almost no one, I was able to reconnect with. Almost no one. I mean, my close friends I did, but no professional contacts. I don't know. So it was tough. It was tough because I was like, at times you think, oh, was I robbed of a life I was supposed to have? But I'm like, well, I don't hate my life though. Like, I don't hate my life. I still get to do something kind of for Marvel in a way, even though it's not for Marvel. I don't get paid by them, obviously, but I can talk about Venom for almost 600 episodes now. So that's freaking awesome. I still ended up, doing something Marvel related for fun. I still got to work in comics for about 7 years, which was great. I got to kickstart a few things, which I was very lucky enough to be successful at. And I'm very lucky. I don't hate my life. So I think maybe that if I would have went on that path, maybe it would have led me to somewhere bad. And maybe I wasn't meant to go that way. And maybe Keith was looking out for me, even back then. So, do you have to have a diploma to work at Marvel? No, but it is a lot of like who and I don't know, reputation, I guess, and a professional resume. I mean, there's a lot of things to it. I'm pretty sure it's even harder to get a job there now because they're probably not doing a lot of hiring. They may not be doing a lot of firing like DC is right now, but they're probably not doing a lot of hiring. but a lot of it is. So I try to do everything. I try to write for like Bleeding Cool and CBR and other news sites. Hollywood Reporter, I did a couple articles for them. I tried everything that people say to do. They're like, oh, get some articles out there. I'm like, okay. They're like, get some comics out there and bring them to like, editors and stuff at Comic-Con. So I'm like, okay. So I did that. I did all those things. But the problem is I was never good at networking because a lot of times at Comic-Con, when people would network, they would invite you to an after party. And because of my ailments and my health, I can't be around music, sound, strobe lights, things like that. And they would go to like bars. Sometimes a couple of them would go to strip clubs. And those are just not environments I want to go to or be a part of. And so I could never really network on some level. I could network in other ways. And I tried, and I worked for Top Cow and, who work, are owned by Image and stuff, or work with Image as partners. So I worked in comics and I did some stuff and it was fun. But I felt like I hit the level I couldn't go any higher because I just couldn't handle it. Like we were invited to a couple of parties by Valiant Comics and I'm like, I can't go. Or Dark Horse Comics. I'm like, I can't go, man. Or the CBR yacht or whatever. I'm like, I can't go. Can't go. It's too many people in a close space. Like going around Comic-Con was already tough enough. And there's been time to Comic-Cons where I would have seizures or pass out or whatever, and I'd wake up in the the infirmary or whatever where their EMTs are and stuff. So yeah, it's just just wasn't meant to be. So I'm glad I ended up doing this show though, because this has been fun. Like I'm like, oh good, I can do this alone in my house, and I can interact with things and share stories with you guys. You guys share stories back. We talk about a character we all love. We learn more about him, which is really great. I got to go to the set. I got to meet Tom Hardy a few times. Like, I mean, come on. Like, I don't have any complaints, and that's I think that's why I was okay moving here to Florida and being like, okay, I'm not giving up just because my health is on the decline. Like, I'm not giving up. I'm just going to go start another chapter in Florida. I'm not going to sit out here and suffer financially in California anymore because it was hard to live out there. It was really hard. It was very expensive. And after being out there, 3 years and then aneurysm and then back for 9 more years, I was like, we did it. We did good. 12 years total in California. That's good. It's a good life. And we succeeded in a lot of areas we wanted to succeed in. And I go, now I get to go start this next chapter, right? So it's been fun. I love your comments. I love that. That's very nice of you to say you love my channel. I'm doing my best. I know my channel's not great. I'm working on it, trying to make things better, but I'm glad you like it though. My temperature is high right now. Do you take cold shower to cool your temperature down? Do you think those healthy Ensure shakes? Do you drink those healthy Ensure shakes? My temperature is not high right now. My temperature is low. My body temperature was under 95 degrees on Saturday, and I went to the hospital for hypothermia. So no, I don't have high temperature. I have low temperature. So it's the opposite. I'm glad I could be part of it. An amazing friend. Hey, you're an amazing friend, dude. We're gonna collab at some point. Riddle John there in the comments is a new friend I made here in Florida, and he's also a YouTuber. So check out his stuff as well. And we're definitely gonna cross streams at some point. So that'd be awesome. So yeah, no, I had hypothermia, and I'm getting over now. My temperature is 95.4 when I left work. It was 95.5 earlier, but it dropped to 95.4 when I left work. But that's still better than 94.2, which was on Saturday. And I still went to work on Sunday. I worked a double on Sunday, the day after I went to the hospital, because that's how much, A, I need money, and B, I am a stubborn asshole and I won't take care of myself. I had a really great conversation with one of the managers at Lego. He said, I heard stories about you because I called your old store and asked them about you. And they told me that you would come in sick. And I go, well, I'm sick every day. I've had a headache for 10 years. Like I learned to adjust the best I can. I have to battle fatigue, so I get tired. I battle the pain in my head. What feels like, I have one working ear now. So that's an issue. I get overwhelmed with sound sometimes. People's energies bother me. Like there's a lot I have to struggle with to get through a day. But I do it because I just don't want to be I've met people who are disabled, and I would kick myself in the nuts if I went on disability. That doesn't mean I haven't tried before. But what they call something I have, they'll say it's like an invisible disease. So they'll make a list of things you can do, and then they'll say you should apply to one of these types of jobs, which is essentially how I ended up at Lego, because comic books were mentally tapping me out and exhausting me emotionally. And it was hard work a lot of times. And it was a job I didn't really know everything about. And I was having trouble finding mentorship in some ways, not in other ways, but in some ways, and it would stress me out. So it wasn't good for my health. So I ended up leaving comics and got that list made for disability. And they said, well, you can do you could be on partial disability, but you might have to, you should work a little bit. We think you could work in these fields. And when they said retail, I was like, oh, I like Lego. Let's go look at the jobs at Lego. And luckily I applied. And then like 4 months later, I was in there shopping, and I said, the lady was like, you still looking for a job? I was like, yeah. And she goes, resend me your resume and I'll look at it. And I did. And 2 days later, she hired me. And I'm glad, very grateful. Lego has done a lot for me as a company. It's also been a pain at times, but not the company itself, but some of the people I worked with before. But for the most part, it's been good. So the manager was like, I heard stories about you about how you'll go in and but you still do your job. And he goes, you're not a supervisor here, and even if you were, I don't want you to do that here. We have like 80 employees at this location. If you're sick, stay home. Don't worry. Don't feel bad. And I'm not going to hate you for it. I want you to take care of yourself. And so when he told me that, that's why on Thursday I didn't feel bad about calling out. I was like, oh, I definitely need the money. This sucks. I'm losing a shift, especially an 8-hour shift. But I also was like, yeah, but look at the upside is I get to rest, and I clearly need it. So take that advice, man. Take care of yourself. Riddle John said that to me all the time. Would love to do a fan art if you man, can I? You would like to do fan art of me? Sure. And just draw a giant idiot, and you got me perfectly. Yeah, if you want to, that's fine. You can send it to me on Instagram at VenomVlog. I mean to sound rude or kill the mood, but what if Eddie Brock bonded with Carnage and Cletus Cassidy bonded with Venom? That does shift the mood, that's for sure. I don't know. I mean, I guess Carnage can bond with other people. At first I thought he wasn't able to because he bonded with Cletus's blood, but then he bonded with Norman Osborn. He bonded with Carla, whatever her name is. So I guess that's possible. So I don't know. I don't know what would happen. I don't know if I would want to read that. It'd be like Freaky Friday with Venom and Carnage. I don't know. That could be good, actually. You sold me. That sounds like a fun book. Do you have back pain? I do have back pain. But that's because I injured my back at work at Lego a year and a half ago. Lego's helped me through rough times too. Yeah, they're a good company, man. I've worked for so many companies. I've had easily over 50 or 60 jobs in my lifetime. I've worked in food, retail. I've worked in sales. I've worked in marketing. I've worked in comics. I've worked in movies. I've worked on cars. I've worked in transportation. I've worked in marketing calls, sales calls. I've been a landscaper. I worked in construction. I've had a lot of jobs in my life, food industry, waiter, cook, like everything. I've done bartender, like I've done every job I can think of for the most part. Man, Lego itself as a company, yeah, sure. In the most places you work at, you might deal with someone that you don't really see eye to eye with. You just hope that you can compromise and work through things. Some instances I wasn't able to with some people before, and probably not all of that's on them. Some of it is on me, too, because I can be stubborn at times as well. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. I really like that company. I've never really worked for a single company for nearly 5 years, and I almost made 5 years with Lego, almost. But because of health and stuff, I was like, I got to pack up my life and move. And I moved here to Florida, and I was really happy that they were looking for seasonal help. And I like applied online, and then I took my resume, printed it out, and walked it in to Sandy and Zach. And I was like, please hire me. I'm a good employee. I was wearing my helmet that day. I'm supposed to be wearing a helmet a lot of times. You guys know this. Usually in my YouTube videos, I don't. I'm supposed to be wearing it at work sometimes in case I have a seizure. I do not wear it at work. I am still very embarrassed by the helmet, even though it's signed by Tom Hardy. I still get very embarrassed to wear it. But I did. One of the managers at Lego knows I have it, and he said if I need to wear it, I can. So sometimes I keep it in my locker. But I don't know. I don't like the looks I get when I wear it. So I've been trying not to wear it, but it's fine. I haven't had any major. I did fall down the stairs a couple months ago, but that was not seizure related, thank God. Yeah. So anyway, I've rambled long enough. It's about 9:30. I gotta go. I'm gonna walk my dog and call my mom, and I'm probably this YouTube. I have a Venom vlog episode rendering right now, and it should be done in like an hour. And if it is, I'm gonna rewatch it, make sure it's okay. And if it's good, I will upload it in the morning so that you guys have a video for tomorrow while I'm working a double shift. But there will probably be no video on Sunday because I won't have time to edit anything between now and Sunday because I'll be doing a double tomorrow and a double on Sunday. So maybe on Monday we'll come back and do another live stream Monday night, and then Tuesday I'm off. It's my one day off every week, and so we'll probably do some fun stuff on Tuesday, including playing Monster Hunter Iceborne, which I got. So our friend Lonely Symbiote and our friend Requiem Games, they Lonely gave me a Amazon gift card for Christmas as an early Christmas gift. And she said, buy whatever you want with it. Get a pillow for your back, whatever you need, just get something. And I said, I can't think of anything better because not every week, but most weeks, at least 1 or 2 Tuesdays every month, me and Requiem and Lonely will play Monster Hunter World, which is a game that Lonely bought for me and donated to the channel. And I ended up falling in love with the game. I really love it. So there's a sequel called Iceborne, which I've been wanting to get. So she gave me this gift card, and I used that gift card to buy a PlayStation Store gift card. And then this week, Iceborne went on sale for $20. So I bought Iceborne with the PlayStation gift card. And now I have Iceborne. And so we are going to play probably, some Iceborne or something on Tuesday. So yeah, we'll have some fun. So thank you guys all. Thank you for the 15 thumbs up. I appreciate it. Keith Pagan, rest in peace. You're an awesome dude, an awesome teacher and friend, awesome father, from what I could tell, and an awesome person and human being in general. And you opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. I came from a small town in South Carolina with nothing, mowing lawns every day. And, you saw potential in me. And I want you to know that I worked really hard to achieve the few things I've achieved in my life. And it's because you always looked out for me. And so did my grandparents and my Aunt Joan and all those people, everyone who loves me and who did love me and still loves me from wherever they are now. Thank you. And if you guys are out there and you have people like that in your life, embrace them, and realize how special it is. Someone who has your back and who roots for you. Because that's a very important thing to have. Because especially on those days when you feel lost, they're good friends to help navigate you, right? So thank you guys so much. Hey, thank you, Eddie Smollett. I appreciate it. Wear it. I'll fight someone for you. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll wear it. I'll bring it to work this weekend. I mean, I always have it with me at work. I just usually shove it in my locker. So yeah, maybe you'll see it. So anyway, thank you all so much. I really do appreciate all the support you give me here on this channel, and tonight especially. It means a lot to me. So now you know who Keith is. He was a great guy, and if you're watching this later, share a story about an amazing person that that you may either still around or lost down in the comments below. I'd love to hear about them as well. Thanks so much. See you in the future. Peace.